there, and welcome to the show. I'm Nancy Guppy, coming to you from the very festive Seattle Center, where the annual Holidays at the Center is in full swing. This always popular celebration is packed with lots of fun activities like the interactive winter train and village, classic family-friendly movies, next level ice sculpting, a Seattle Christmas market, and live theater for kids and adults. For the full schedule of events, go to seattle.gov. All right, as this is our last episode of the year, we decided to look back at a few of our favorite stories from the past season. So relax, put your feet up, and enjoy these highlights from Art Zone 2025.
He'll be cut in half somehow, or maybe bisected. And you'll see a half of him over here, and then one on the other side. I think a lot of times when I look at them, I think about like if they were alive, like how would they move and how would they operate? And to me, I can see it all in my head. Like it all just feels like it makes sense. The kind of work that I do is essentially ceramic collage. So I find pre-existing pieces and then I take those and cut them apart and reassemble them. Because I want the work to all look like it was born that way. It's really important to me that you look at it and your first thought is, that's a figurine I've seen before. And then your second thought is, wait, that's something I've never seen before. And so there's a puzzle in doing that and like making that sort of perfect born that way moment. I was out thrifting and I saw these two little vintage lambs and they were so adorable. And I just remember looking at them on the shelf in the thrift store and just sort of having the vision in my mind that I could take them apart and put them back together and make them something different. And that sort of started the whole thing. Using a Dremel tool to cut things is a little hit or miss. Sometimes it works beautifully and sometimes it does not work at all. Once I have the cuts made, we'll either glue the two pieces together or mix up the epoxy sculpting compound to do a big fill to stick the pieces together. Then I will get the paints out, do all the color matching that I need to do. I'll airbrush those on. Then I'll do final brush work, put gloss coats on the, polish it, sign the bottom, done. When I look at my work, I see humor mostly. I see this world where things are funny and strange, but they're nice. It's sort of just this reflection of an unusual world that we can have. I like just opening that window of like look at this thing you never thought of and now it's here.
I want visitors to be able to experience comics in a sort of a different environment with a different approach to the medium. Comics have been sort of stigmatized, and the work that we show is more based in reality to appeal to adults. And my goal is to have people come visit the store and leave with an appreciation of comics on a different level. I'm the curator and manager at Fantagraphics Bookstore in Georgetown. Fantagraphics Books is a publisher of alternative comics and graphic novels aimed at adult audiences. We're based in Seattle since 1989. Here's a recent work we published by Charles Burns. Imaginary comic book covers of comics that were never actually existed. The covers themselves sort of tell a story. And one of my personal favorites is Peter Bagge. Peter Bagge is known for chronicling the grunge phenomenon in the 80s in his comic serial Hate. This is Peter Bagge's earlier work, The Bradleys. It was sort of a story of a dysfunctional family, sort of maybe loosely based on his own upbringing. I've been a comics fan since I was a child. Let me rewind back to the beginning. I started my career in 1978 after graduating with a degree in art history. I opened an art gallery in Pioneer Square called Roscoe Louis. Interestingly enough, that gallery opened at the same time as three very gifted artists from the Evergreen State College. Linda Berry, Charles Burns, and particularly Matt Groening, who was later the creator of The Simpsons, and had just started my gallery as those artists were entering the field, and I was able to exhibit their work. In addition to showing visual art at my gallery, I also started booking alternative music. One of the earlier bands that I embraced was the U-Men, described as being somewhere between punk rock and performance art. That included a number of really gifted musicians, among them Tom Price. And I developed a close relationship with them, eventually managing the band. Fast forward to 2006, when Fantagraphics opened the showroom here in Georgetown. I became the curator and manager and the first employee. There's your books. Is it foreign edition?
I have no idea what it is.
The bookstore here is a showroom for all of Fantagraphics publications, but our mission has expanded to support local independent artists, and I'm the curator of that selection. We host hundreds of art exhibitions, artist talks, workshops, concerts. My name's Larry Reid. I've been a cultural worker and advocate for experimental art in Seattle since 1978. My thought is to just make it a punk rock, you know, like something that would have come out in 1981 or 2, you know. I don't feel pressure to be like the U-Men. You know, that's not what this is. Hot Off the Press Books Fair started 12 years ago as an opportunity for local artists to expose their work to broader audiences. This year, we are paying homage to some of the past artists that helped create the environment we enjoy now, among them the U-Men. Tribute to one of the great proto-grunge bands in Pacific Northwest.
To shadow up for myself, cause I sang there to the wall. Turn 18 and something here. Said it would shame away for more lives. To hit the wall, you lost it. Bye. The widowless U-Men.
Well, my presence in Georgetown predates the bookstore here. I began working with artists and doing productions in here. I'd like to think that residents here consider me a cultural asset.
Some people think Larry is the mayor of Georgetown, which he may be reluctant to express himself, but I do believe that is an apt description.
He always has his ear to the ground with either the coolest old thing or the coolest new thing.
It would be tough to replace Larry. He's one of a kind.
At 72 years old, I'm not quite ready to retire yet. I still have things to say. And you know Al Williamson? This is early stuff. Really an important artist, and that's a great book. I'm really pleased that I was able to make a living working in my chosen field of visual art. It's not easy. I guess I'm proud that I was able to stick with it through lean times and establish sort of a reputation for being a subversive element of Seattle's art community.
What makes this space special is actually something I don't even know how to say it. It is the soul of this space. It's the people who come here. It's the energy that is in the space when you walk into it. Our goal was to have the most diverse group of people coming together to learn dance. I like to meld the gay and the straight worlds together. I just want people to come together over dance, which I think is just, dance and music brings us together. When they come into the space, the first thing everybody says, oh wow. We don't make spaces that are this elaborate, that are this beautiful. So it feels like you're kind of walking back in time. It was built in 1908. It was an Oddfellows building until probably about 30 years ago. The thing about this room that makes it unique is all of the work that surrounds the balcony. So they are all lion's heads, they're all plaster. They have light bulbs in the lion's mouth. We still have the original chandeliers. So you see a lot of the original Oddfellows building architecture. Clearly, the best thing about it is the floor. It's about a 45 by 45, 45 by 50 dance floor plus extra room to be sitting around. You can see where people have danced. You can see where the teachers teach in the middle of the room, where the people surround the teachers around the outside of the room, where people's favorite place to dance is in front of the stage. Just year after year, what has happened to the floor? So for me, it's history. This type of space is important because it's an art space, and I think the more that you lose art, you lose your soul. But in terms of spaces that are for a community, that it's the people who have walked through this space over the years that call it home. It's been meaningful to people over 28 years, and it brings people together, and this is a beautiful place to come together.
When I have a brush in my hand, I feel as though I'm in the right place somehow. That it's not that nothing can go wrong, because everything can go wrong, and that simply doesn't bother me. I think one of the best things about working as long as I have, doing sort of the same thing every day, is that there are only few moments when things are totally blessed by the muse. It's so out of your control. Oops. I'm actually at my best when things are going wrong. My name is Fay Jones, and I'm a painter, and I have been a painter for a long time. I've been told that I'm a narrative painter, and I think that's fairly accurate. Painting has become my basal metabolism. It's part of what I need to do. And I will be 88 in June, and I'm fine with that, but I also can't quite believe I've reached that point in my life. It's just the idea of being my age and feeling that I'm fading in some way, not in a bad way, that you feel invisible. I guess I'm addressing the issues of being an almost 88-year-old woman. How's that? This is a photograph of me as a very young child. It's 1937, so I would have been a year and something. I'm the oldest of 6 children. I've always been able to spend a lot of time by myself. I think I'm a master of staring into space, and I feel extremely fortunate that I grew up in a generation where that was perfectly all right. If you finished your schoolwork, you could just look out the window. I read a lot as a child, and I also drew a lot as a child from a very young age, and I wanted to be an artist, but I had no idea what that meant. When I went to art school, I was 17, and I got into Rhode Island School of Design. I was able to be completely self-centered for 4 years. It was great. Then I got married at the end of the 4th year, and by the time I graduated, I was pregnant. We moved to Seattle from Providence, Rhode Island in 1960 with 2 children and a basil plant. And my husband had a job teaching at the University of Washington. I got out of school in 1957, and I didn't actually exhibit until 1970. So I painted very small because I had 4 children. The maximum dimension of my paintings at that time was probably 15 inches. I took over the biggest room in our house and started painting paintings that were at least 6 feet tall. So everything changed.
Well, this is Studio E Gallery. Our current exhibition is a collection of new monoprints by Fay Jones. Being an inhabitant of the city of Seattle, there's no way that I would not have known who Fay Jones is as the artist. Fay is probably our most important painter in the region. Her imagery is known by people who don't even know her name. Fay's work is in the subconscious of a lot of people in the area.
I think I have a habit of recycling certain images. That figure, and this was 34 years ago, the gambler image I'm still working on 34 years later. Those are probably the first 2 that I did. The rabbit for me is a humorous symbol of fecundity. How I love the monkeys. They're funny, and we're related to them. The donkey is a beast of burden, and I've always sort of felt that the donkey was, in a way, outside of being a woman, it's like being a donkey, or in a way, a beast of burden. I'm not sure I'm a feminist, but the alternative is unthinkable. At some point, I realized I didn't have to prove anything. You know, I didn't have to prove that I knew what I was doing from the beginning to the end of a painting. I used to feel you had to cover up your history. I realized the history is part of the painting.
You know, often there's a shadow of where that arm first was drawn, or where that, you know, angle was, or maybe this thing that was masked out. You can leave that. She leaves the trail, because I think, in her words, you know, the path is as interesting as the, you know, the destination. And you can see it here. I mean, look how many donkey legs this has.
It's really how I process whatever's coming in. I think I am best suited to sort of taking it out on a piece of paper. Good. It's a relief. It has to come from inside, you know, that's the hard thing to explain to people. Better? 10 years ago, I painted small watercolors. They were based on still photographs of genre noir films. And I always wanted to make a big painting of it. Unlike a lot of other work that I've done, I've had some place to go every day. I really wanted to paint this painting, so I gave myself an assignment. You hear writers say, I'm not going to write anymore. Some do and some don't. It's just possible that one day you wake up and say, that's it. Something happens and there you are, you're back in the studio and say, I don't know what I'll take up the day I decide I can't do it. Maybe I'll try knitting again. No.
Getting my standing and figuring out how to be a front person in a band. I've, always played in bands as more of a sideman. The challenge of being a front man for me is just getting over my nerves, and it's pretty wild, you could rehearse as much as you want and get so comfortable in your practice space, and then there is just something about walking out in front of people and the dynamic changes. I knew I wanted to play music since I was a little kid. Certainly, it started as thinking I just wanted to be a singer and performer, and then I got a guitar. It was just a lousy little gremlin guitar that the fretboard was cut your fingers, Boy, what did they do to you? And at the time I was growing up, Seattle had already exploded into this international scene.
These 5 teenage boys first started playing loud music together 2 years ago when they were all freshmen in high school.
I was in a band when I was a teenager that kind of blew up, and then it turned into all these major label demo deals. So I moved up here in order to fulfill that dream. That whole Seattle scene and explosion, as progressive as a city as it is, did not seem accessible or designed to be for me. And I think that created a lot of conflict because, you want to be inside a club, but you know that you don't get a membership. Yeah. When I was a kid, I was kind of locked into this really closed down world that made you conform. Just the knowledge of knowing that I was queer made it instantly clear that the world was not designed for me to roam freely within. When you spend your life hiding for so long and then you realize, oh, it doesn't have to be this way. Once you kick that door open, then that is gonna just become a really important part about who you are and how you want to express who you are to other people.
Every day is like an echo in the hall, and I can't listen to it anymore.
I feel like I only really found my footing with music and my comfort with myself in the last 10 years. I've been out for a really long time now, but really leaning into that as part of my identity and the actual music. I'm still kind of figuring that out right now. I don't know what queer music necessarily is in the first place. It's not really a genre. But I feel that it is a pillar of what I'm trying to communicate. Mikey Moo kind of taken to calling it queer psych pop, and I don't know if that's, trying to come up with words that can best label a sound. I mean, to me, it's pop music, it's psych, it's rock and roll. The lyrics deal with queer matters, but definitely like bringing in different genres for sure, and I like to dance all over wherever I can.
I am drunk on your innocence.
This is the first time I've ever written a full length and been like, okay, this is a statement of sorts.
Here is Mikey Moo's Fresh Idiot on vinyl.
I wrote the record on my own and then workshopped it with some other friends, but now I finally have a band with Scotty and Nikki. So I'm really excited to collaborate and write with them.
It's the first time we played that.
I'm learning that Mikey Moo is not just about me now, it's about trusting the other two in the band. Because they're really, truly two of the best musicians in the town and dear friends. Seattle it's always been about not being a sellout and all that kind of thing, and I feel like the city is wanting for marketing, jingles, those kind of things that like don't take itself so seriously.
I need a PITA morning and night.
Heavy Metal Marching Band is a project that Troy Nelson and I started during the pandemic because everything kind of shut down, there were no more shows.
I need a Vita.
So we were just kind of goofing around, we were making some jingles, and then we did some for St. John's for my bar.
St. John's Takeout. The answer to your prayers is finally here. St. John's Takeout.
The process is really collaborative. Generally, we share a brain, and we have a really, really good time creating this stuff. We're just gonna see where we can take it.
Hey, what are you doing today? Well, I'll tell ya.
I'm gonna walk out to the clock out, baby. They got everything you want and need.
I feel like Seattle's music scene is the coolest it's ever been. People have just gotten so creative with what art is. There's so many new projects and collaborations, so there's just all sorts of music kind of going around all the time, and all sorts of different kind of music. So I'm really excited to see what the next chapter is, and I'm like, wow, Seattle's where it's at.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. We're Mikey Moo. Love ya. Thanks.
And that's a wrap. Big thanks to the Seattle Center for hosting us, and a reminder that Holidays at the Center is happening throughout the month. Most of all, though, we want to thank you for tuning in. We have such a great time bringing you art and artists in our community, and we look forward to sharing lots more art with you in the new year. So we're going to leave you with images from Farm to Table, art, food, and identity in the age of Impressionism. This gorgeous show at Seattle Art Museum, featuring over 50 paintings by renowned artists, runs through January 18th, which to my mind makes it the perfect afternoon outing for visiting family and friends. So enjoy, have a terrific holiday, and we'll see you in 2026.